themselves, giving their name, their position, and their company where they work with. And then we're going to move on to more of a discussion section to see more about what they do, how they got to where they are, and more advice that they can give to our students. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and meet our speakers today. And we do have our speakers pinned, so they will be pinned to the Zoom as they are speaking. Okay, so we can begin with the first person on the screen. So yeah, we can introduce ourselves. I think it's going to be Hafrida. Am I pronouncing it correctly?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Hafrida Hari Bradford. So I did my undergrad and my master's here at CSUN, both in biochemistry. And I transitioned, or I started working with Amgen. Amgen is my first job out of school. I started working with Amgen back in 2022, right around the time that I was finishing with my thesis. And at Amgen, I'm a process development senior associate. And I work primarily with trying to get like DNA clearance from samples in order to get that, approved, in order to get like the medicines approved and so on and so forth. So that's a little bit of background information of me.
Thank you so much, Hafrida, for introducing yourself. Now, if we can go kind of back to Elaine, I saw you're here now, so if you can please introduce yourself as well. Oh, you're muted, by the way.
Yep. Yeah, good afternoon. Thank you. My name is Al Kella. I graduated from CSUN with a mechanical engineering degree and a bachelor's and a master's more than 20 years ago. And immediately afterward, I started to work for 3M. Also down the street, they have a pharmaceutical plant that they no longer own. They divested that. But I started working there after school, and then shortly after that, I got hired by Medtronic, and I've been with Medtronic also on the CSUN campus, just up the street from where you guys are. Back in 2018, I've been working there ever since, supporting patients with diabetic needs. And my title is a director of operations, and so I oversee a small team manufacturing a next generation implantable insulin pump.
Thank you so much. And Elaine, now if you would like to present yourself.
Sure. Do you want just a highlight of my different roles or just where I'm at now?
It could be whatever you would like it to be.
Okay, great. So Elaine Brenya, I'm currently employed by Amgen. I've been with Amgen for most of my career, but I graduated from CSUN with a bachelor and a master's in environmental health and safety. Worked for a company down in Redondo Beach, TRW, as a health and safety professional, moved to Amgen in the same capacity. And about 7 years in, I moved, pivoted careers and started working in the learning and performance space in the operations organization, and was there for about 12 years, learning and supporting all the different parts of the manufacturing organization, and then moved into technology, where I lead the learning and performance team from onboarding through staff development for the technology organization at Amgen.
Perfect. Thank you so much for being here, all of you. If we can now have Dr. Hannah Moshe Waziri present herself, please. Oh, okay.
Hello, everyone. Great to see you here. I'm Hannah Moshe Waziri. I graduated from CSUN 2013. I got my master's degree in electrical engineering from CSUN. And then I continue my education in biomedical engineering and applied mathematics. I started working at Medtronic since 2012, and I started as an intern there. And I found my internship through a career fair in CSUN. And since then, I've been with Medtronic, and currently my role is Senior Product Development Program Manager, and I'm working on insulin pen. And I'm very happy that I joined this session today.
Thank you, thank you. And then if we can have Raghi, if I'm pronouncing your name correctly.
Yes,
Okay, perfect.
Hi everyone, my name is Raghi, and 3 years ago I have graduated from CSUN with a biotechnology degree and a minor in chemistry. Shortly after, about a month after, I got a contract job at Amgen, and since then I've been working at Amgen. Now you probably will see at the screen it says Thermo Fisher / Amgen, and that is because I'm also employed by Thermo Fisher through a service level agreement with Amgen. So I'm employed by Thermo Fisher on the Amgen campus. They call it a service level agreement. Briefly, I work as a senior scientific support in the pilot plant, which is a manufacturing area. And in my specialty, we deal with drug substances, medias, and buffers, and LEL testings, and we deal with a lot of small molecules. And 2025 of May, so about 4 months ago, I graduated with my master's degree in biotechnology and bioinformatics from Cal State Channel Islands, which is approximately about 20-minute drive from Amgen. And I've been a part-time student at Cal State Channel Islands and a full-time employee at Amgen during those past 2 years and a half, and I graduated last May.
Awesome, awesome. It's so amazing to have such amazing panelists with us today. So the point of today is also to have a lot of student-led discussions and have you all ask questions. But just as a first question to get us started, I would like to open up and pose one question. So students, please be thinking, and viewers, please be thinking of questions you want to ask. You can either put them in the chat and then we'll read them out. But the first question I wanted to ask is, what are some tips for securing your first role in the field, and how did your first role prepare you for where you are now? And anyone feel free to jump in.
I'm happy to share. So as part of my bachelor requirements for graduation, I had to do an internship, and we had a professor that was sort of orchestrating getting all the students internships during the summer break. And that's where I did an internship, came back, finished my degree, and based on my performance at that time and the relationships I had built during that internship, there was an opportunity that came up and someone threw out my name and said, let's talk to Elaine and see if she wants to come back. So that's how I got my first role. And I graduated during a time when it was a recession and there weren't a lot of opportunities. So really having that internship and making myself known in that internship and what my skill sets were really opened up a door when an opportunity came within that company.
Great, thank you so much.
Yeah, I just want to piggyback off of what Elaine was saying because my situation was a little bit similar. So while I was doing my my master's, I was doing research with Dr. Fischaber in her lab, and in doing that, I had opportunities to not only learn technical skills, which are, I feel, very important if you want to get into like the science part of like the pharmaceutical health industry, but also in networking when I went to conferences to present my work, or just like networking with other students within the department. Because ultimately what landed me the job in Amgen was because somebody who had previously worked for Dr. Fischaber was leaving the position, and she basically had just emailed Dr. Fischaber like, hey, if you know anybody who's interested in applying, like send them their resume. And so I did so, and that's kind of how I got the job. So I would really kind of emphasize like networking, and specifically if you want to get into like the science aspect, like being a scientist and so on, kind of getting into research and getting those technical skills, because that's very important in getting a job.
I also ad for how to land your first job. So as you guys may know that in this day and age, the job market is really, really, tough for a lot of people. So one thing I can advise with is try to land something instead of a full-time position, try to land into a contract position or W-2 position. This means that you can get your foot in the door with being paid hourly with a contract, let's say 3, 6 months or 12 months or whatever the amount of the period is. And then make a really good impression and become a self-starter person. And then from there, that's how you can get the full-time position later on. And this is how it worked for me in getting a contract position and then turned it into a full-time position later. So I would also advise into doing that as well if the job market is really tough on you for this time. And make your LinkedIn a priority into show all your skills that the technical skills that you have. And I would say 99% of professionals are on LinkedIn nowadays, and they look at your LinkedIn before they hire you. So um, that's a piece of advice that I can give.
I want to add a small thing here that it was my story as well, to going through internship and then contractor and then full-time position. But just be open to start at some point, and maybe your first job is not your dream job, but you learn through that. You learn networking, you learn how to solve problems, you make some connection and network around that, and through that network and experience you get from your first opportunity, you can go and get to your dream job. So don't think your first job it should be your dream job immediately.
Thank you all for those really good insights. I think it's great advice, to start early and kind of broaden the horizon. So thank you all so much for answering that question. So we have a few questions in the chat. So I'm going to answer one of the first ones I see. The first question asks, will there be internships for software engineering or data related roles? I think they are asking in your companies. And if so, how are these companies' viewpoint in relation to international students and immigration?
I can speak for Amgen because I am in the technology world, and I do know that we do have summer interns. I don't know specifically what that process is. I'm happy to find out and circle back with you, Cam. But each summer we do have summer internship programs at Amgen in the technology organization.
Thank you.
I'm gonna do my best to speak for Medtronic. I'm not in HR, and I don't know specifically because I don't have software in my team. But I would say Medtronic is always actively hiring, and things change from time to time. And I don't know if the question is referring to sort of AI and the loss of software jobs because of that. So it's hard to say because everything I feel is in its infancy. But I would say for Medtronic, to always check the career website. I believe they're hiring for those positions, and things just come along every now and then.
Perfect. Thank you all. Another kind of common theme that I'm seeing within the questions is sort of when do you think is appropriate to start looking or thinking about internships, either freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year, when is too late, when is too early, etc.
I'll go again. For Medtronic, they have a very aggressive schedule. So we just wrapped up interns this summer. And while I had an intern, Medtronic HR asked me in August, okay, are you ready for another intern for the following year? So what they do is they target the whole process to begin in August and start interviewing, I believe, in October to secure interns for the following summer. So to answer your question, I think you should always be ready. Obviously, freshman year might be a little bit harder because you're competing against seniors and juniors, but there are programs that apply to freshmen. So I would say always be ready because you never know when an opportunity may come up. And if you're a freshman and you get rejected, don't get discouraged. You have a couple more years to land that internship and try other options, other avenues.
I'd like to add to that if I could.
Yes.
Part of planning for an internship also means that you qualify for internships, and a lot of that is based on academics. And so I think when I was an undergrad, I didn't really understand that. I didn't appreciate the gravity that GPA was going to have on kind of on your ability to even be interviewed for internships, because I think Medtronic even has a minimum GPA requirement. So for students considering like the pathway towards an internship and how instrumental it is in developing your career, I think that the time to start thinking about your internship really does begin with your academics and your communication skills well before you even consider like what time of year do I apply for what specific internship. And those are things you can kind of work on, you have control over initially. So I would just kind of bring that into the conversation as well.
Can I add a small thing here? I have opportunity to teach at Cal State Long Beach as well, and I'm working with undergrad students. The things that I learned from the internship process through my student was that they start applying for at school internship in the lab, working with professors when first.
Oh, I think the internet's cutting off. Okay, yeah, I think the internet got cut off.
Oh, you couldn't hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Okay, did you hear what I mentioned here? I'm
We
sorry
missed
about.
the last like half of the part.
Yeah, so for the first part, I said that the experience I got from working with my students at CSUN is that on first and second year, they start applying for internship at school in some tech labs that we have working with professors. And then having good GPA helps them to get those internship, and having at school internship help them to get in outside of school internships.
Perfect. Thank you all so much. The next question that students are asking about is about networking and how important networking is. Should they be networking online versus in person? Can you share some insight on how you think networking plays a role into landing a job or internship?
I can answer that question. So I have a personal experience when I used to be in my a student in Cal State Channel Islands for my master's degree. We used to have a lot of graduate mixers where you bring yourself, and then there is also a lot of people, like kind of like the panel that we have now. Uh, there's people from companies, and then you talk with them and speak with them. But the idea is how to make yourself outstanding, and that's the important question. Because if you just talk for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or however many amount of minutes, is that you need to make yourself outstanding and remembered for after that. So what I used to have, and this is something that I did a business card that has my name, my phone number, my email, and a QR code that if you snap a picture of it, it takes you straight to my LinkedIn page. So I used to hand those out to people that I talk with, and this is how I built, networking relationships. So try to make yourself outstand from the average is one thing I can advise you with. Also, try to look for opportunities like this one, for example, where you have, for example, 5, 6 speakers, and then make yourself remembered after that. Try to showcase your skills, because you might fall with a hiring manager one day that you can be seen, and then they tell you, okay, we have this position, and we see that you are a great fit. I've seen that happen with a lot of people from my peers at my master's degree, and that I would advise with.
I'd like to add on to that. I would say networking is huge. It's very big in your career. My first job I got because of networking. My last job that I got was because of networking. And so I'm networking with people in the company, and you get to meet other leaders, and you start building rapport, and that's how that's one way to continue and grow. When I was looking for a job more than 20 years ago, and I hate to date myself, I think LinkedIn was barely getting started or wasn't around. And so I got the job through traditional networking, and I feel today it's not any different. However, I feel LinkedIn is an additional tool to help. I still think that face-to-face networking is more important. It pays huge dividends. And in a way, it's not any different than like online dating. Meeting a person face to face, it just opens up more opportunities for conversation. It's more personable than being on LinkedIn. But I'm not saying that LinkedIn, doesn't work at all. It has its benefits. I just feel like an in person just gives you more opportunities.
And yeah, I also want to add to that, like that in-person networking, I feel that organic, kind of relationship that you have with your peers and are very important. You can of course network through LinkedIn. Of course, that's very valuable to network with professionals, but also like your classmates, because ultimately like your classmates will go on to find other jobs if they graduate before you. That can give you like a hand when you're about to graduate or when you're looking for a job, because I feel like from my own experience and from the people that I know, I've seen that, people that I've known through class, usually, or friends, have always been, helpful in trying to land a job. And so I think it's very important to also foster the relationships in your classrooms and just like your everyday educational setting.
I actually landed my role at Amgen through a friend that I went to junior high school with. So you can also have, keeping track of what your friends, where they're going, what they're doing, having those relationships too. Those can actually also provide opportunities too. So, fostering those relationships are important.
Very true. Very true.
And she wasn't even in my field of expertise. She just happened to be at the company and was able to get my resume in front of people that were responsible for making decisions.
Oh.
It can happen all different kinds of ways.
Yeah, if I could add and I guess kind of make a plug. I think professional societies, like the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, is one I participated in a lot as a student and as a professional as well. And their annual conferences and even conference or meetups of professional orgs with student orgs are like great opportunities to go meet people who are working in your area. Even if you want to say like work in the Valley, for example, you might meet folks that work at companies in the Valley already. And so those are good opportunities. And just a final thing is be yourself when you're meeting people. Don't be overly nice or overly odd or anything like that, or overly enthusiastic, because that could be kind of off-putting. But just be yourself, because I think, in my opinion, the networking aspect of it goes a long way, because people will recommend people they think they'd want to work with, And so that can go a long way. And the more genuine and sincere you are, the better it I think will reflect on you as a person.
If I
Very
can add here, for me, I think meeting people in person or online doesn't matter. The important piece for me is the next step to follow up with my work and make a relationship with them. So in future, I can reach out to them and advise or help. And
Okay, thank you all so much. The next question that I think would be great for students to know is, what is one of the most valuable lessons you have learned while working in biotech or the health tech industry?
I would say for me, documentation is big. And so in the healthcare industry that we work in, there's a saying that if something wasn't documented, it didn't happen. And so so there's a ton of documentation that needs to take place in this industry. But also on a personal level, even just taking notes was something I needed to learn and adjust to. And even to this day, I'm still learning and getting better, especially with better software out there and better systems out there. But even now with the cell phone, like there's no excuse not to take a note. And so for me, documentation is one of the big things that I learned.
So for me, I look at my role in two ways. It's like what I deliver and how I deliver. So the what you deliver, you need to be really good at whatever your role is and whatever skill sets, whatever technical expertise. That's like a given in order to be successful in whatever role. So learning whatever you can to be the best that you can in that role that you're in. And then the other side of it is that how the work gets done, that is through the relationships. It's really important to have good relationships with the people that you work with and to really foster those, because there are times where I've been in a pinch and those relationships that I've built have really helped me move things forward, because I've invested in those. So it's really being really good at what you do and really understanding your technical expertise and the requirements of your role. But then it's the how do you deliver in terms of how you work in the environment that you're in and foster relationships.
I think probably one of the most impactful things that I've learned is nobody can do any of this by themselves. And so much of what I do, I realize that um, I feel like I know a lot, and then I get into the weeds of what I'm doing and realize I need the help of like 10 different people who are experts in 10 different things to get one thing done. And I think that interconnectedness of the different kinds of science and skill sets that are required to get things done is probably one of the most humbling things. And um, I think useful things that I've learned in that, like, I don't have to be an expert at everything, but to maybe echo Elaine's point, you should get really good at one thing and learn to leverage that and contribute.
Especially in early career, right? You really want to get good at what you're doing.
exactly. The lesson I learned is that when you have a great idea, it's just the first step, how we execute it, the team work. And we're in biotech, our audiences are our patients. We need to work for our patients, and we need to learn how to compromise that great idea and bring it within these regulations and for patient safety. So the teamwork, as everyone mentioned, is important, and learning how to execute any ideas that we have.
Thank you all. Very true. The next question is, can you all talk a little bit more about the importance or the difference between going into research versus internships, and how, research plays a role into getting those internships?
So I can speak on that. I didn't do an internship in undergraduate, but based off of the internship or the projects that the interns are given within process development, um, I can see how research skills or the skills that you learn during research is very, very important, because that kind of lays the groundwork for what kind of projects that you will be given in specifically. If you're going into the more like science technical side, I feel research, like getting into research, is like really, really important. Um, because it because those skills will be, it kind of lays the groundwork for, like I said, the project and also your job. So I feel if you are interested in doing an internship, you should look into getting into research. And the good thing about research is that you don't have to be like a junior level, senior level, to apply to internships. You can start research in your freshman year, sophomore year. It's really never too late to start. You just have to, go into your department, look into what research the professors are doing, and ask them, like, do they have, any opening to take you in? And if they do, they'll most likely take you in.
Thank you. Another question that students want us to know about is about managing time. I think it'd be great to speak into how you manage your time as a student and managing your time now in the field, especially with all the projects.
I can speak on that part. So I was in the past 2.5 years, from January 2023 to May 2025, I was working full time, and I had night classes twice a week. Plus, on top of that, I had assignments to do, I had readings to do, I had research to do. So that was a lot for some time. What I would say is what I used to do was do my job in the day, and then take a 30-minute nap, and then go to class, and then eat something before, and then attend the class, and then go back home and sleep. What I would do you would dedicate a full day, whether it's on a weekend or 2 half days, and dedicate those 2 half days or that one full day just for academics. And instead of thinking about academics every single day, that, okay, I'm gonna do this tomorrow, I'm gonna do this tomorrow, I'm gonna do this tomorrow, because we as humans, sometimes we procrastinate. That's just our nature. If you just dedicate 2 half days or one full day to crush all the academics, and not have to think about it until next week. That's what I used to do. But I'm sure that might not work for everyone. This is just a strategy that I used to do. And be strategic as much as you can. Don't overload yourself, because sometimes you can say, I can do this, when you actually can't. So be strategic, know your load, and you know, if you see that you are being overloaded with some stuff, try to take some time off and breathe, and make a plan about it, instead of thinking on putting a plan. Because if you make a plan that is too long to stick to or to adhere to, that will make you not do things faster. So um, don't overload yourself with so many things, and dedicate time for everything, single thing, and that I would advise with.
I would add on to that. It's kind of hard to answer this question without some context. But for me, I have a full-time job, and I like to joke that I have a second full-time job with 2 toddlers at home. So the moment I get home, I'm just busy with them. And so I've had to make some adjustments to this day with managing my workload. And really what I find that works for me is having a system in place. And so this is, very simple. Like I will plan what I'm going to wear the next day. So I'm not shuffling for it in the morning while my kids are yelling at me for breakfast. I will, make my meals ahead of time so I don't have to worry about them, at lunchtime, say, spending 30 minutes to go find something and then go get it from a fast food place. So little things like that, I feel it makes me efficient and productive. But the other thing is also knowing when to say no. You can't do everything, and also being focused and sacrificing, doing other things. And so you might just have to say, this Friday, I'm just going to work on this one thing, and that's it, so I can get it done and free up my schedule to do the next thing come Monday. So it just depends. I don't think there's one solution. It really depends on where you're at, with whatever challenges you have.
I'd like to add to that too, kind of from like a mental health point of view. I have ADHD, so and I only found that out when I was doing my master's starting to do my master's at CSUN. And at this point, I had already gone through a lot of school. And so it was very illuminating to realize I'm like, oh, my brain doesn't work the same way other people's brains work. And a lot of this advice, I think, is good and useful in in a conventional sense. But if you do suspect or think you may have some kind of neurodivergence like that, like there are different strategies available, including therapy and medication or things like that could help you with time management, because time management is one of those problems for people with ADHD also. So like the ways of approaching that might be a little different for folks that have that type of neurodivergence like I do. So not suggesting anything, just more saying it as a point of awareness. That's all.
I can add to this. I was also a full-time student and full-time employee at the time when I was working on my PhD, and I learned to be more focused and dedicate my time to whatever I do at the moment. So I had to pay attention to whatever I do right now. If I was in a classroom, I should listen completely and understand the topic and ask questions all at the time that I was in the class. So I didn't want to go home and start reading and understand what happened in the class and again come back and send my question. So I was so focused in the classroom or at work. So I knew what I need to do. I learned what the things I had to do, and I didn't have a big list of to-do list at the time. So be focused and pay attention to what you do at the moment. I think will be helpful.
Very true. Thank you all so much for answering that question. Now I kind of the students want to know a little bit about what you have done in your field. So can you all explain or tell us about a project that you've done that you're very proud of, or yeah, like a project that you want to share with us?
Yeah, I can share one. So I work in Medtronic's diabetes site, and Medtronic's obviously a big company that serves a lot of different diseases, but I focus on diabetes, and I'm on a special team that has built a implantable insulin pump to treat type 1 diabetics. And so we spent the past year building a set of pumps and accessories that a patient needs in time for our first patient implant in May. So that was a huge project. We had a lot of challenges that come up that I could spend the next couple of hours just talking about, but just traditional manufacturing issues that came up. And so I have an example of what the pump looks like. And this gets implanted in the patient's like abdomen area. So we were able to get this out to a patient, and now that patient's responding well, and we're getting to do more. So I'm really excited about that, and just helping diabetics in the world.
So I have something to share. So my role is not necessarily in the flow of patients impact, right? So I am not in the lab. I'm not in process development. I'm not in the manufacturing. My role is more supporting people that are working in the flow of what we consider biotechnology, right? And so I think that when you're looking at opportunities in biotechnology, you can think outside the box in terms of, there are other opportunities beyond just working in that sort of science field. And for me, where I take pride in the projects that I do is what can I do to help drive better performance for those staff that are making products that are going directly to patients. And so one of the projects that I worked on, we were launching a new drug, and with limited resourcing. And so they came up with this novel idea of how to address getting a packaging line set up for this product. It had some cold requirements that made it unique. And given the resourcing constraints, my role was to get staff in a completely different role and a completely different skill set, ready to be able to perform this new skill set, this new process, this everything new, to be able to deliver a product to the patients. And we did that successfully. So when I look at that as being a rewarding role in a support role, I'm still impacting patients. I'm just doing it differently in terms of bringing people along to be able to do that work. It's really important in biotechnology to really tie what you're doing to the patient. No matter where you are within the organization, you always have to have that patient at the end. They're using our product. So along the way, you have to align yourself with knowing that whatever you're doing has a patient impact.
Thank you for sharing your projects. Now, the students are asking about different types of skills that you think are important to the field. Do you think it's better to try to get specialized in a certain amount of skill, or do you think it's better to have like a wide variety of skills within this field?
I'll speak to that one. I think two things that STEM people, I will just broadly say, are underdeveloped in their education are data visualization and communication, and statistics. And I think those are two areas that I can't speak highly enough to the ability to develop those things. And the third one is storytelling, because no matter how good you are at what you do, if nobody can follow the narrative you're trying to portray, it's gonna be very difficult to get people on your side with your concepts and your perspective on the way you're trying to contribute to problem solving.
Yeah. And if I can add, I think about both technical and non-URN. It's important to know these days data analysis, understanding some basic regulation for the field that you are going to work, and thinking systematic and systems thinking, because whatever we do will affect the entire system. We cannot just change one thing and don't think about other stuff. So technical part, I suggest this is skills, and for non-technical, I think ability to learn and unlearn are important things. So we learn many things, but with this fast changing in everything, coming AI, new technologies, everything. We need to unlearn some stuff and with some new things. So this is a non-technical skill that I recommend to everyone, and also teamwork is important, and the ability to translate those complex scientific solutions to something that is executable is a non-technical skill, I think everyone should have.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that. So, I mean, and I want to speak specifically in regards to like the lab space. Again, if you want to be more on the scientist side of this industry, I think in regards to like specialized skills versus like a more broader set of skills, I think the broader set of skills will be beneficial. I mean, even as you know, land a job, you still want to like diversify your skills. You know, you don't want to be pigeonholed into one set of skill sets and then land a specific type of job because you only have a narrow set of skill sets. So the more skills that you learn, the better. And of course, there's also a lot of value to being an expert in a skill, right? So, you know, having a specialized skill, of course, I feel that's very important, you know, being an expert in something, but then also having a broader net of skills will help you land a variety of different jobs, especially if you're like, you know, an undergraduate or you're a graduate and you don't really know like what kind of job you'd like to land. You know, again, getting that first job, having a broader set of skills will help you land that first job in whatever field, and then you can kind of pivot depending on, you know, when you land the job, do you like it or not, and then get a feel for that in that sense.
And if I could just add to that, like, from, you know, obviously biotechnology is a very scientific driven industry, but at the end of the day, it is a business, and decisions around whether things move forward or don't is really around business. So understanding that, and if your goal is to find a role and really specialize in that, then you're likely going to stay in that space. But if you want to expand and have more responsibility or learn new things, you're really going to have to understand, yes, you have to understand your science, but you have to understand the business and how the business is run and how decisions are made, so that you can align with that and move into different spaces and broaden your skill sets, because it's a business, really. That side of it is part of the equation.
Thank you, thank you. Going back again to networking, I just wanted to ask about different strategies that helped you get to where you are today.
You know, I was just thinking about networking. As crazy as this might sound, I've never met Carlos and Hannah before, but we are in the same company, in the same building, and I think even potentially on the same floor. And that's how big it is sometimes. And so right now we just connected on our Teams chat, and actually Carlos reached out through LinkedIn and sent out an invite. And so it's I don't know if I'd call it a strategy, but it's just being very intentional and just reaching out and connecting. And right now, you know, I just expanded my network by 2 people. So I would think I think it's very human. It's not any different than, you know, meeting somebody at a, I don't know, a church, at a store, and then, you know, talking about things that you have in common. So I would say just try to keep it simple. I know that doesn't sound profound, but I think that sometimes that's all it takes.
I have a quick question for Carlos. Carlos, did you used to work at Amgen?
No.
Your name is so familiar to me. I'll remember.
I mean, I probably applied there, but yeah, unless I have a doppelganger running around, which if he's making money in my name, I want that money. So
Yeah. But it is networking. It's just like meeting other people, and you just, I don't think I've ever had a role where there hasn't been a connection, been offered a position or taken on a role where there hasn't been a connection to somebody that has helped or had a conversation with me, it's always been where I've met and gotten to know somebody somehow, often in unexpected ways.
Yeah, I
And
think oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, you can go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, I think kind of to the point of authenticity that I was trying to speak to earlier, like people are still people at the end of the day. Meaning, um, I, for example, train jujitsu, and I've met a bunch of people in biotech through jujitsu, which is absurd because we're over here trying to strangle each other, and then they're like, "Oh, where do you work?" And then you just have this very casual, jovial conversation, but it's not the kind of environment I'm expecting to go and talk about nerdy things, but that's just a part of my life where I kind of open myself up to it just because it's just part of my life. And, a lot of your life could be full of people that you don't even realize like could potentially help you. And not because they have anything to get out of it, just because they feel they have a good vibe about you. So I think that sincerity does go a long way.
Yeah, and just to echo what everybody else has been saying, like kind of fostering those like organic relationships that you would meet in, your everyday setting is very important. I remember like hearing in undergrad, when I was in the same position as all of you guys, everyone would be like networking, networking, networking. It's so important. And in my mind, I thought like networking meant like reaching out to someone on LinkedIn or like, going out of my way to like meet those people. And I found for me what worked best was really making like close, not close, I mean they could be close friends, I do have a lot of close friends within the field, but just making friendships with those people around you so that they will help you out and they are more willing to recommend you because they do know you, they do know how you work, they know how you are as a person. So just really fostering those uh relationships in a really organic manner.
And if I were to add to that, other than the networking, whatever you are going to do, try to do your best and show the best version of yourself and the work that you can do. This will help you for your next career. And when people see that you are the person who will get the job done in the best way, and you are the person that other people wants to work with you, maybe you don't have some skills, some technical skills, they think that okay, we can train that person, but we want that personality in our team. So this is another strategy you can use. It doesn't matter what is your role, what projects you are working on, just show your best attempt there.
Thank you all. And just in the spirit of networking, we have some students asking in the chat about maybe adding you on LinkedIn or sharing any type of personal contact that you all feel comfortable sharing. If y'all can put it in the chat just for students to see and utilize what we're speaking about today. And yeah, thank you to those who have been putting it now. So just to kind of wrap up and kind of move to a close our conversation that has been so great. I wanted to ask one final question. So if you all could give one piece of advice to your younger self, what would it be?
I would say one, this is actually an advice that I got from someone before, is that if you're landing your first role right out of college and you are thinking about what role you should apply for, or you have, let's say, the market is doing as great, and you have so many positions that is open and you can apply for many things, apply for the position that you can laterally get as many skills as you can for other positions in the future. Meaning, if you put yourself into a bubble of a position, and then let's say you can only grow your skills in only that position, probably won't help you in other positions later in the future. And in that case, you would if you need to, for example, do a career shift inside of biotech, then you would need to relearn a lot of the skills an entry-level person is doing it from the beginning. I'll give you an example. So, for example, Hafrida is a process development scientist, right? So if she have been, if she's if she, for example, wants to go into manufacturing, for example, where I am, or vice versa, if I want to go into the scientist role, I would have to relearn a lot of what Hafrida has learned from the beginning. But if you're in a position where you have a position where you can grow laterally, where you don't have to relearn a lot of those things to go into later positions, that would be a great thing to have. But obviously, those are the minority of roles, not the majority of roles. But if you can get a position like that, that would be wonderful.
So for me, if I were to look back and give myself advice at the beginning of my career, it would be open. So I had in my mind very set, like this is what I wanted to do, and was very focused on that. And it is good to be focused because you want to obviously in your early career become you're learning and becoming good at your chosen career, but being open to other possibilities because that can take you on a different road is really important. Being so focused and not opening up and being looking at other potential possibilities, it can be career limiting in the long run. Yeah, I think being open, but being also mindful and strategic about the moves that you make, right? For me, it was like, I need to find a full-time job and it has to be in this field and it, in this area, as opposed to like, I want to work and I want to build my skill sets. What could that look like? And I think being more open in that way really helps the adventure of the career open up.
I would add on to that. For me, I would tell myself to leave my ego at the door. And what I mean by that is as you start to work and as you start to get accomplishments and you start to get praise, and then you start to build expertise, you all of a sudden think you're the hot shot and you're the only one in the company doing things. And I think like Elaine said, it ends up being career limiting. And somebody else said it, I forgot who it was, but in this field, you're working with a lot of people to get things done. You're not a one person team. And so I think I made some mistakes earlier on in my career that I learned from and moved on from it. And if you notice, most of the time we've been talking about things, it's mostly been sort of things along the emotional intelligence. We haven't really gotten into anything technical. So that's what employers spend a lot of time looking for. Some will maybe ask you technical questions or do a test, but really they want to know, are you independent? Can you work with a team? Can you contribute? Can you share? Can you be a team player? All of those things that are sort of what we call soft skills. And it's hard to train somebody on that. And your manager doesn't want to train you on that. They don't have time. So that's what I would tell myself in the very beginning.
There's one more thing I need to add for this, and it's very, very tiny, but it's actually very important. If you get your position after college or any period of time, inside of the company that you will work for, there's something called an ERG, which is Employee Resource Group. If you, for example, work for Amgen, you'll find an employee resource group for, for example, the young professionals resource group. There's, the there is a lot of employee resource group, which is kind of like your student organization clubs that you're in right now. So I'm currently with the Young Professionals, Amgen Young Professionals Employee Resource Group. So when you go into it, you'll meet people that work in other departments or other divisions or maybe other states that can be a help for you in the future and your future career. So instead of being in your bubble, in your department, in your division, so that's something that you can also do as a networking, and that happens on the weekly if you are inside the company already, or if you get your entry level position, for example.
I think the way I'd answer the question is, I'd ask myself to differentiate between what I think I should be doing versus what I find fulfilling. And what I mean by that is I came into the diabetes space because I had a sister who was diabetic, and she got a CGM, a glucose monitor, and insulin pump, and it completely changed my life. And like the fact that I had that revelation and realized, like, this made this huge impact on me. Like I want my work to do that for somebody else. Um, that to me is more important to me than a lot of like the day-to-day stuff at work. And I think that like fulfillment leads to purpose, leads to kind of like a more fundamental knowledge of self. And I think it's more important than maybe the ebb and flow of feelings you might have on any given day, or interactions with any kind of people who suffer from low emotional intelligence. Um, but I think it's important to know what your values are and to let those values guide you in your actions. And also, like, they speak to your character too. So I think I kind of wish I would have had that epiphany earlier. But then again, I mean, life is life. I mean, I'm grateful for this life that I have.
Yeah, I agree with Carlos. I think it took me a while to figure out my why and what I valued and what was important to me and what I found rewarding. And I would recommend trying to figure that out sooner than later, because it really does help propel you in your career. Yeah. And your choices, the choices you make too, they guide you.
Yes. Any last thoughts or things to add?
I just wanted to add one thing on Carlos's and Elaine's feedback. The one thing that's unique about this industry is we're giving back to the health of patients out there. And I can't speak for Amgen, but I know for Medtronic, we are really connected with our patients, and we have something called patient stories, and we hear directly from patients. We bring them on, and they tell us, how grateful they are. I imagine it's the same thing at Amgen. We're in the same world, essentially, and that really goes back to the why. Because there's times when I don't know, you'll have a rough day at work, a rough project. You may not like your boss, or whatever. But that why brings you back, and really what we're in this industry for is to help everybody, like Carlos's sister, and so just helping mankind overall.
100%.
All right, everyone. Well, I want to give a virtual round of applause to all of our amazing panelists for all the good insights and just being honest and truthful with our students. We appreciate your time so much, and also for providing your LinkedIn information. But students, please don't let the conversation end here. These are folks that are very full of insights and have accomplished a lot. So we want to make sure that we're keeping these conversations going. So thank you all so much for being here. And if you have any comments or concerns, please let me know. My name is Kimberly Morales, and thank you all so much for such a great panel, and thank you all for attending.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for
coming.
inviting us. Yes.
Of course. Thank you all for coming. Thank you.
Yeah.
Very nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Meet everyone.
Goodbye.
You're welcome.